This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Friday, October 11th, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. A new senior living apartment complex broke ground Thursday in South Bend. The three-story building is a project of the American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association, which is a nationwide provider of affordable multifamily living. The second phase of the project will cost $20 million and add 72 units for folks older than 62 and with a household income of less than 50% of the area's median income. American Senior Living CEO Steve Beck said the organization wanted to expand after seeing the demand in South Bend.
With the help of HUD and some other agencies, we're able to provide great housing for local low-income seniors.
Developers said funding for the project includes a $7.3 million capital advance from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, $10.1 million from low-income housing tax credits, a state bond, and a mortgage. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb plans to travel to Greece this weekend in an effort to strengthen economic development partnerships and joins a group of other U.S. and Greek leaders to promote democracy. Officials said Holcomb and other American leaders will gather for a visit focusing on cultivating democracy and business and the exchange of policy, business, and culture. The delegation will meet with the U.S. ambassador to Greece, the Greek Minister of Climate Crisis and Civil Protection, the Greek Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Greece's Secretary General for International and Economic Affairs. Indiana and Greece exchanged more than $53 million worth of goods in 2023, the governor's office said. 3 major Indiana-based corporations have operations in Greece, including Eli Lilly and Company, Corteva, and Zimmer Biomet. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Indiana, your bold future starts here. IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation invite you to the Engage Indiana series, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. With an unrelenting focus on growing Indiana's economy, our Engage Indiana events take place in every region of the state. Discover when we'll be in your area at ibj.com/engage.
Texas-based third-party logistics service provider TA is expanding its presence in Greenwood with the acquisition of 2 new warehouses totaling more than 350,000 square feet. The company declined to disclose its financial investment in the facilities, which add to the single warehouse it has operated in Greenwood for several years. The new facilities measure 141,000 and 211,000 square feet, respectively. The company said in a news release that a key highlight of the expansion is a hazardous materials storage section. The new facilities are not yet operational. A spokesperson for TA told Inside Indiana Business that 2 employees are currently on site and plans call for the addition of 25 new jobs. Tucked away in the back room on the 4th floor inside the Informatics Communications Technology Complex at Indiana University, Indianapolis, sits an ever-growing collection of some 550 vintage video games and 20 gaming consoles. There's the Atari 2600 from 1977, the Commodore VIC-20 from 1980, and all types of vintage games. Thanks to Matthew Powers and other caretakers and game enthusiasts, IU officially designated the offerings as an IU Museum Collection. The collection is now known as the Replayable Object Menagerie Collection, or ROM. Powers says the cultural impact of video games is immeasurable, yet modern consumers are quick to move on to the next one, so 87% of classic video games released in the US are no longer available. That, Powers says, makes them worth preserving as a historical resource. For more on this story, head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. And Stellantis, which makes Jeep and Chrysler vehicles, announced a number of significant leadership changes, including the timing of CEO Carlos Tavares' retirement and the departure of its chief financial officer as it struggles to revive sales in North America. Chief Financial Officer Natalie Knight will be replaced by Doug Osterman, the company's chief operating officer in China. In addition to naming Osterman's replacement in China, Stellantis also appointed a new chief operating officer in North America and in Europe. Stellantis has about 11,000 salaried workers in the United States at 20 plants, including 4 in operation in Indiana, all in Kokomo, that employ more than 6,000 workers. Rolls-Holman Institute of Technology President Robert Coons is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast, hosted by Gary Dick, presented by PNC. A weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Mark Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.